I could defeat this painting art historically by commentary. You know, I could tell you there's a story that leads from some sort of figuration in the past to it in the present, or by some sort of continuity within Davison's work. But in a funny way, I'm interested in the fact that Davison critiques his own work along the way. In a sense, he defeats and transcends his own work, and that it's that ability to sort of lift the work at each stage that makes the work truly great. Because I think this sort of work, you know, along with Hilton's oils of the late 50s, early 60s, are the best British abstraction around. I think this is really major art, and it's very difficult to say why. I think you can compare it, okay, to certain major exemplars like Mondrian, which I think you probably need to, that sense of the painting being resolved within itself and yet somehow open, and by contrast with Mondrian, how it feels a little bit more provisional, a little bit more contingent as a configuration. And that sort of big contrasting, you know, with past great art of the 20th century, I think is one way that you might go in understanding meaning. You know, it takes a set of conventions and it pulls them round in some way. What I wouldn't want to do, what I feel rather uncomfortable about doing in Davison's case, is trying to sort of pigeonhole him in terms of St. Ives art, for a number of reasons. Not the least, not being sure, you know, whether a thing called St. Ives art exists in terms of a sort of place making an art. But I wouldn't want to sort of pigeonhole him in that category, because his work did resist some of the cliches that we think of as St. Ives art. That is the abstracting from nature, the toing and froing between natural imagery and abstraction. And he did move away to be away from St. Ives. He could have settled in St. Ives very easily. He chose to establish a difference, a separation from that sort of art. He refused to abstract from nature. He refused to title his work, to date his work. He refused, for us art historians, to actually allow us to map his development, really, in a very easy way. What interests me is the way that his work really draws on much deeper resources of early French modern culture, I think. This sense that a painting can be something pure and resistant, and resist not only resist the art world and its media attention, but also resist art history itself, resist commentary itself. And you know, that's why I feel that as a commentator on art, I feel rather sort of conflicted when I look at this, because I don't really want to do the sorts of things that people normally do in talking about this work, and I think that is being sort of true to Francis Davison. I don't want to connect it to a historical person called Francis Davison, because that's exactly what he didn't want to happen. I don't want to connect it to some sort of local tradition of art. Francis Davison wanted these works really to sort of speak for themselves and to just involve you in their own personal, private, resistant sort of arena, this personal sort of paradise, if you like, of colour and form. The magic that's going on from, you know, these really quite banal materials becoming this really quite wonderful configuration, almost sort of spiritually uplifting. Let them speak for themselves.